Milyen a magyarom? Ili mój szörpski? Ja benim Türkçem? Today, I'd like to talk about my baby languages, why I've chosen to learn them, the mistakes I've made along the way, the lessons you can apply to your own efforts, and, of course, my current level in each language. Let's dive right in. First of all, I like to mention that I am a proud father of 14 or 15 languages, depending on which DNA test you use. And the youngest children of the bunch are Hungarian, Serbian, and Turkish. You see, I like to think of my languages learned as a family, hence the term baby languages. Let's get into the newborn of the bunch, Turkish. Turkish, the newborn. Why Turkish? First of all, much like my friends and family, I like to keep my languages close. Turkey is literally not too far from Italy, so that proximity gives it an advantage over other languages. However, the deeper reason is not girls, but the fact that I met some very friendly Turks in Berlin, and it sparked something inside of me that I cannot quite put into words. Plus, people think I am actually a Turk all the time, including my colleagues. One of them calls me, for example, Il Turco, the Turk. And the idea of this very same Turkish-looking guy actually speaking Turkish out of the blue in some random Turkish place in Europe is a nice extra push towards learning this beautiful, beautiful language. Also, I have to be honest, failing at Japanese, the language that shall not be named, but I named it anyway, hurt my soul a little bit. So I really wanted another chance to learn a subject-object-verb language from scratch. Therefore, I decided to start learning Turkish on New Year's Day this year, 2024, using Asimil Turkish, the French version, since unfortunately or fortunately, there is no Italian version to this day. So, as the French would say, il faut faire avec. You have to make do. Going back to the family metaphor, learning a new language is like taking care of a newborn. You need to feed it every day, or it will scream, cry, and eventually die. Now, jokes and accents aside, for the first 3 months, I was learning Turkish like a maniac, relying on my bi-directional translation method to get the basics down. I was spending, on average, 75 minutes per day just on Turkish. But then April came and I hit a wall. Ouch, that sounds painful, and it was painful, because my motivation took a big dip. The mistake I made was learning like a maniac for far too long in an unsustainable manner. So, what did I do? Well, I took a much needed break. It's something I've noticed in my language learning, and here's lesson 1. It's okay to take a break. Don't beat yourself up if you feel less motivated for a while. Just like with babies, sometimes they can entertain themselves for a bit while you recharge. No need to burn out or force yourself. It will have the opposite effect. During the spring, I tried transitioning from Asimil to the podcast offered by the Easy Turkish channel and found them to be, well, frustratingly difficult. However, by the summer, I took a step back and found my stride again and started watching an easier version of the Easy Turkish channel, which is Super Easy Turkish Videos. And I also found another savior, who is teacher Ali Ilmaz on YouTube. So lesson number 2 is to find content that is comprehensible, engaging, and at your level. In fact, in my case, that third feature, at your level, was critical because I had jumped from Asimil, which is a resource that helps you to get, let's say, to an A2 level at most, to directly to Easy Turkish podcasts that are aimed at people who have at least a B2 level. And the truth is, if I hadn't known about the concept of the Goldilocks zone, that is, stay within a learning zone where things are neither too easy nor too difficult, I would have most probably gotten stuck and stopped learning this beautiful language altogether. And you don't want that to happen to you, right? So I invested the time and the money into finding resources that made sense for me given my level, taste, and circumstances. And that is exactly when Turkish started to grow up. Throughout all this time, I really never focused on speaking the language, but I am slowly getting there now, much like a baby who's learning to crawl before he walks. As of today, after nearly a year of learning it, I'd say I am more or less at an A2 level in Turkish. Serbian, the rebellious preteen. Zašto srpski? Once again, proximity played a factor as the Balkans are nearby, and as a history buff, that region has plenty of it and is really interesting for me. However, sometimes you visit a country and feel a warmth like no other from its people, and that is how I felt after visiting Belgrade many times. To me, Serbs are very, very similar to Italians when it comes to their hospitality, humor, and lifestyle, so I really felt like I fit right in. I started learning Serbian in January 2022, and now I think it's at the preteen stage where it wants to rebel and needs a little bit more discipline to make progress. My trusty buddy Asimil this time did not have a Serbian version, so I had to do what any normal Italian would do when faced with a serious task. I just improvised. Using my creative Italian forces, I got the Croatian version of Asimil and had my Serbian friend Branka rewrite it in Serbian Cyrillic so I could adapt the text. But Branka and I did not stop there. I also asked her to take the podcast from the BBC 6-minute series, translate them into Serbian, and create audio files for me to enjoy. That gave me plenty of material to use for months as I basked in the beauty of her voice and the interesting themes addressed in the series, which I had chosen. That period was pivotal for me to transition from language learning material created and aimed at beginners to more natural material aimed at native Serbian speakers. Nowadays, I really enjoy the Ivan Kostogar podcasts on YouTube about self-improvement, and I would say that my comprehension is quite decent, although my output, well, it still needs more work. You see, with my Russian and Polish being so dominant, they tend to bleed into my Serbian, affecting both my vocabulary and my pronunciation. Especially my pronunciation. My mistake has been that I haven't used Serbian enough at this stage. Like a preteen filled with raging hormones, it needs to go out and socialize. And that is why I've come to lesson number 3. Visit the country if you can. I was in Belgrade in September and it opened up my Serbian like never before. Just saying the phrase jednu kesu molim vas at the supermarket next to my place just made my day and had me more excited than a typical preteen boy discovering, well, how the body functions. The bottom line is, as trivial as it may sound, you need real interactions with real people to make the language really stick. As of today, after nearly 2 years of learning, I would say that my Serbian is more or less at a B1 level, maybe B1+. Hungarian, the apathetic young adult. Hungarian, the apathetic young adult of the group. Simply said, Budapest is one of my favorite places on Mother Earth, and I love the unique flavor of the Hungarian language. Egyszerűen imádom, ahogy a magyar hangzik. There. Can't you see how cool this language sounds? I love it so much that even after getting pepper sprayed and assaulted by a Hungarian bouncer back in 2007, true story by the way, I still adore the language, the culture, and the people. I've been learning this beautiful language since 2015, and let me tell you, it's been a wild ride. Hungarian is one of those languages that demands a lot of attention and care, and if you do not give it the time it needs, it will pull some tricks on you. At first, Hungarian was pretty confusing, and so I decided to run what seemed like a great and new experiment at the time. I focused much more on output this time, speaking as much as possible from the get-go, not with one, but with 2 tutors, Petra and Anita, then on input to see how I would actually do. Horrible mistake. I struggle more than an Italian train trying to be on time. Even the simplest podcast felt like plucking my chest hairs one at a time. I just couldn't get used to the language for the life of me. My turning point was when I decided to go back to the drawing board and focus much more time on input rather than output. I started reading and listening to podcasts, especially by Petra, my teacher, and also Cizi, 2 wonderful girls and content creators, refocusing on interesting content for me. After nearly 3-4 months, not only did I comprehend a lot more, but I also improved my speaking skills dramatically. I leveraged my improved vocabulary and comprehension to express myself unlike I could have ever imagined. And that was not only because of input. I'd made a fateful decision with my speaking sessions. I had decided to move from impression to expression, which brings us to lesson number 4, communication over performance. Once I shifted from trying to sound perfect to just trying to get my point across, my spoken Hungarian started literally skyrocketing, and most of all, I started enjoying these conversations and enjoying them for real. By the way, we have an entire lesson about moving from performance to communication in our Speakeasy course, which is a course about overcoming the fear of speaking and getting to a conversational level with confidence and clarity. If that sounds like something interesting for you, I've left a link in the description box. Anyway, back to my struggles with Hungarian. Through much toil and sweat, and through those sessions with Petra and Anita, I reached a level where I could hold meaningful conversations without major problems. At this rate, my Hungarian might get its driver's license soon. Much like Serbian, my Hungarian improves by leaps and bounds when I'm in the country, where I try to use Hungarian, of course, as much as possible with native speakers. After 9 years of learning Hungarian on and off, I'd say I'm at a B1 plus level, speaking-wise, and probably a bit higher when it comes to listening and reading. So, 3 languages, 3 different stages of growth, and 3 different learning strategies. Here are the key takeaways. Turkish. Start slow. Find what worked for you and do not be afraid to pause when you lose motivation. You will come back stronger. Serbian. Be creative with your resources and visit the country whenever you can. It's the best way to get a boost of motivation and to boost your skills and confidence. Hungarian. Communication beats perfection every single time. Speak, focus on communicating, make mistakes, get feedback, and keep moving forward. Want to make sure you're on the proper path to fluency? Check out my completely free ebook and audiobook combo called Avoid These Mistakes to know exactly what not to do when learning a language. Trust me, there is something in there for any language learner of every level. And as always, happy language learning, and thanks for watching. See you! Gledamo se, brate. Güle güle!